So I have a part two to the story time about Sherry and Rico because Sherry was in the comments and she was watching. So she says, "Hey, BurbNBougie, I would like to give a brief response to the commenters about my story time about Rico. First, thank you to all of the women who were happy for me and who understood the point of my story time, which was to show that even if you are with a guy for a number of years, if you get yourself together during the less than ideal situation, your time wasn't wasted. I agree with the commenters who said that women should have parents that they can come back to in such a situation. However, in my case, I did move back home briefly after I dropped out of college when I was young. I unfortunately have a maliciously narcissistic mother who made life unbearable for me for the few months that I stayed at home. Once I got a job, I moved out and lived in a studio apartment. About a year later, I met the ex. As I said in my story time, we dated for a couple of years before moving in together. Of course, I would never recommend this now. For those who understood the financial situation, yes, I wasn't working while I obtained my first degree. The ex pretended to be all for me going to school while he paid the bills. As with many women, and as I mentioned, men will start clowning when a woman is in a financially vulnerable situation, such as school, pregnancy, postpartum, etc. And I knew that I had to bide my time. After finishing the degree, as I said, I obtained a job but didn't make much money. Since I didn't pay household bills, I saved most of my paycheck paying my personal bills. And when I discovered the opportunities to move up in my career with an advanced degree, I sought additional education. By the time I had completed the first degree, however, I no longer cared what the ex was doing. I was focused on my school program, which was a lot of work. Both my undergrad and advanced degrees are in the sciences in healthcare, which involved heavy coursework. So, of course, I didn't have the time to be concerned with the ex. I was even busier getting the advanced education because I was working full time in addition to dealing with a heavy course load. No, I wasn't saving money for 15 years to buy property, as many smart commenters said. I was doing what benefited me. Why spend money on living expenses when I could save money while working and going to school? I wasn't about to put myself in a struggle situation. I left the ex within months of acquiring the advanced degree, shortly after getting a high paying job. I could have rented an apartment or used some of the savings as a down payment to buy a small property. At that time, in the area I was in, it was really cheaper to buy than it was to rent. Regardless of the choice to rent versus buying a home, I would still have left after I obtained the advanced degree and a better job. Also, no, I wasn't traumatized. A traumatized person is someone who never recovered from a failed relationship or who lamented the fact that the relationship ended, or they are still pining for said relationship, or their life is much worse after the breakup. When I completed that first degree, although I felt like I was competing for Rico for a time, as I continued to work on personal goals, I no longer cared about what the ex was doing. I moved his things out of the walk in bedroom closet, and he had to sleep in the living room. For some reason, he couldn't see the writing on the wall that I was plotting to leave. But I have found my situation, and with other situations that BurbNBougie writes about, men simply don't pay attention. Perhaps he thought I was playing games by not allowing him in the bedroom and treating him like a roommate. By the time he realized that I was done, I was moving out. Lastly, this situation, me leaving the ex, happened over 20 years ago. Not only was no time wasted for me during that situation in my life, I moved on to have a great life. I mentioned before that I had to be honest with myself and admit that I really didn't want to be in a relationship. I came to that realization when I got tired of my well to do friends trying to set me up with eligible men. Anyway, I also had to make sure I put myself on the path to success where I wouldn't have to deal with such a situation again. No, I don't live in a mansion, But eventually, with my increased salary, I sold the small place and bought a much larger place that I could easily afford. I have spent these past few years traveling, indulging in self care, staying fit, and enjoying life. Money does not automatically bring happiness, but it sure pays for a great life. Again, I really appreciate the kind, supportive comments in the thread. I hope my story time will help some women. I appreciate women who understand that we don't all have the same path, that our stories can be different, and we all deal with our situations in the way that we see fit. My path may not have been an ideal path, but I took a situation and course corrected. That is what I wanted women to understand. Sometimes there is truly a happy ending. She handled that follow up so beautifully. I try to implore people to have grace when it comes to these situations because these are real life people that are sending me these story times. Yes, I do Reddits, and those situations are anonymous. Those are basically just cautionary tales. But the women that send me these specifically are people that I am actually interacting with and that are in the comments. So having some grace and not automatically jumping on a woman is so clutch. Plus, and if you're new here, I don't allow you guys to call women stupid or dumb on my pages. I will delete comments, and if you don't take correction, I'll just block you because I want the next woman to feel comfortable with sharing her story with us because not all of us get it right the first time. Making mistakes happens is a part of life. But if a woman is willing to share, that can be a cautionary tale for the next woman to avoid those booby traps. So, like we don't always get it right. And sometimes, yes, you want to have a landing spot with a parent or a friend, but what if you don't have that? And I think that's one of the reasons why these manosphere people, these conservative people, don't like education, don't like women to be able to provide for ourselves. Because if we have that money to just bounce when things get um, unsatisfactory, when the unhappiness level has hit its point, they want women trapped until they want to get rid of the women. And I want us to be in a position to be able to survive and thrive no matter if we're in a relationship or not in a relationship. And one thing that she was saying is sometimes even married women, like let's say she had gotten married within that 15-year time span and she was connected to him. Even married women have to devise a plan to get out sometimes. So this is just an example of making the best situation happen. She didn't get pregnant. She didn't gain a bunch of weight because she was stressed. She didn't like fall down and give up on her career or her education. She didn't develop any autoimmune diseases or jack up her credit or anything. She made it work. So what other thing, like there's literally nothing that you could really like denigrate, but people still found a way to do that. You don't always have to try to pick apart something to find the negative in a situation. Sometimes people have an obstacle and move around it. And yes, some of it is based on who they choose, but you never know that someone's going to cheat on you or stop doing the housework or stop or not help with the parenting or the driving or whatever. You don't know. All you can do is move around the situation and react in the best way possible. Anyways, thank you for watching this far. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this part two, the story time of Sherry and Rico.